Hey guys, Steven here back with another video, and today I'll be teaching you how to shoot in harsh sunlight. So usually this turns out to be like the beginning of a day, like in the morning or in the afternoon. And so I recorded this video a long time ago toward the beginning of the school year, so like around September. And I didn't put out this video because of multiple reasons. First, I was just lazy. Second, the photos from the photo shoot that are going to be included in this video weren't that good. And I was kind of wondering why. Like, not only was it hard to shoot, but it was also hard to edit. And I realized I went to a forest and there's a lot of shadows, and with harsh sunlight it will create a lot of shadows, and a lot of times the face will be overexposed or underexposed or have like shadows within it. So that's sort of what I realized and the cause of the problem. And number three, this video was initially supposed to be how to shoot better portraits, but then I realized no one takes portraits in a forest, right? A lot of times people will go on the street or something, like in the city or in a neighborhood or something, and take pictures in terms of portraits that aren't like in studios and what you just see on Instagram. So that video will be coming soon, but that's initially what it was going to be. But you know, normal people don't just go to a forest and take pictures, you know? So yeah, in this video I'll be showing you guys 5 different things that will help you improve shooting in bright sunlight and what I've learned through that process. If you guys enjoy, hit that thumbs up button and let's get straight into it. So what I've kind of learned when shooting with sunlight, like a lot of it, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can either go all out with the light or go all out with the shadows. So a lot of times people try to find that balance and be very technical with it and, you know, make it look perfect. But I think with sunlight and shadows and stuff like that, it cannot be technical. It won't be technically a good photo, but it might be a good photo in a different way, like the mood it represents and stuff like that. So what I've learned is you can either utilize the light and, you know, the sun flares and stuff like that, or you could go the other way and create silhouettes and use the shadows to your advantage. So if you've ever seen people who've used, you know, fences or like blinds or neon signs and stuff like that, there's a lot of shadow involved with it. And the biggest issue for people when shooting like in bright sunlight is that, you know, the faces are going to be exposed. Well, maybe it doesn't have to be. So those are the first 2 tips I have. You either go with the sun flares and the bright light in the back, or you go the other way and create silhouettes and shadows and cool effects like that. When it comes to utilizing the light to your advantage, you want your subject to be facing the light so that the light will be bouncing off their face. And when utilizing the shadow, you can kind of eyeball it where the shadows appear on their face. You might want to split their face up in half in terms of like half shadow, half like normal light. Or you might want the light to be behind them. If you have the light behind them and it's very bright, you can create a silhouette out of this. And yeah, so those are my first 2 tips. So my third tip is to shoot between objects. It will do 1 of 2 things. It will just make the photo look better in general. If you've ever talked to any photographers or anything like that, this is one of the biggest pieces of advice they will give you, is shoot between objects, whether this is like leaves or like a fence or something like that. You don't want it to just be a plain background. You want some unorthodox stuff in it. The object you're shooting between doesn't have to have a significant focus. It just has to sort of add to the background. And the second thing we'll do is block out like any additional sunlight you may not want, if that is a problem. Like for example, if you shoot between like 2 different leaves, the sun will be blocked out a little bit and it'll be a little bit darker because of that. And so you can utilize that to your advantage. But in general, it just looks better when you shoot between objects. Number 4 is shoot with the light behind you. A lot of times the issue with this is that, you know, the face will be super dark. I think this ties with the first and second tips, like utilizing the light and the dark. I think a lot of the photos I took were with the sun behind the subject, and it was a hard to edit because of that. But I think in some situations where it's very bright, you want to shoot with the sun behind you or light source behind you, because it'll create lens flares if you like that, and it will create silhouettes if you like that as well. If you want the face to be exposed somehow though, you can just use a flashlight if you don't have proper lighting setup. But I think just in general, if you want to be like very experimental with it, the best way to go is to shoot with the sun behind you. Or I know this isn't an ideal tip for people who like to be very technical and want their faces to be exposed, but if you want to be experimental with this, it's definitely the way to go. And honestly, I would just play with shadows and stuff like that. And the last tip is to use color grading to your advantage. You want to be able to use masks. Like for example, when connecting it with the 4th tip, if you're shooting with a lot of light behind you and the face isn't so exposed, you can just mask out that area in Lightroom and increase the exposure for that particular section if you don't want the entire image to follow those same edits. Even in terms of utilizing the shadow and the light to your advantage, if you want to create silhouettes, you want to lower the shadow so it's super dark and super black. You can easily create silhouettes like that if the background is very bright. I would also recommend to edit in black and white to see how that looks like, because I think black and white photos that have to involve the sky and light look really good because there's a lot of contrast between them. So I would recommend trying to shoot in black and white. If you have sun flares, you can increase the impact of them with the highlight sliders and stuff like that. You can also edit how, you know, much the sky pops, like if you want that blue to be distinct, if it is blue, or if you want it to be kind of faded. Like there's a lot of ways to go with the editing and to make it look better. What I found improved my photos a lot is just making it black and white and editing it that way, because sometimes the colors didn't turn out so well, but just the photo itself looked pretty good. So I'm turning it black and white kind of even the colors. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped you out. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. My name is Steven, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay. Oh my god, perfect song.
I know, right?
Yo, it's a frog.
Move your hand, move your hand.
Oh, oh.
Oh,